I I feel like I've already talked to most of you, but I still wanted to take a moment to formally greet you and say how happy I am that you all made the trip out here. I know that all of you are amazing as individuals, and I can't wait to see what happens when you combine and you get to know each other. And I also wanted to take this moment to thank Public Possession, where they are, for hosting us tonight. And also, of course, thank Tigran, without whom I couldn't have done it. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my good friend Haseeb, who's going to start the night off.
Thank you very much. Make some noise for Tali one time. How are you guys doing? Are you guys all right? How's everyone feeling? Yeah? Thank you very much for having me. My name's Haseeb Iqbal. I've come from London. It's my first time in Munich, so I'm very happy to be here. I was going to say a few words before I play a few records for you all. It's a real pleasure to be here at DLD. I got here this morning on 2 hours sleep. I can't believe I'm still going, actually, but great coffee machine over here. Great. If you don't know, if anyone wants a good espresso, I recommend it very much. But yeah, I just wanted to say a little bit about, this is a special gathering because it's not very often that there's a situation where you bring together young people who are all a little bit kind of radical in terms of what they're feeling and what they intend to create. And it's not often that we get this moment to come together and exchange ideas and listen to each other and find that energy and not just feel it in the day, but go home to wherever we're from, whether that's Munich, whether that's somewhere else in Germany or in Europe or around the world, and take that energy back with us, right? That's so important. And one of the things that I found so inspiring about today has been going to DLD and just hearing endlessly about AI, right? I've heard AI more than I've heard the word Munich today. But that's been cool, right? Because it's a world that's slightly distanced from what I'm in. And it's been really interesting to hear all these figureheads who are in different crafts talk about what it means to them. And the role of, for example, artificial intelligence. One of the things that I've deduced from today is that it's unlocked a lot of possibilities for businesses to kind of grow in their own way. For me, I'm a music lover and a lover of history. Someone who, I'm based in London, I was born in London. I probably will never leave London. I love London very much. The things that I've done across the last few years essentially bridge the gap between music, vinyl culture, DJing. I've got residency at the art gallery, the Tate Modern, which is called Beats and Boards. It's every week. I'm blessed to be the first ever DJ to be a resident at the Tate. And it's a weekly communion where people come and play board games. And I play music and talk a bit about the history. We've also had an incredible series last year, which is actually how Tigran came across me and asked me very kindly to come and share a few words and some music with you all, which was a residency at 180 Studios, this incredible gallery on the river in London, on the Strand. And there's this amazing sound system guy called Devon Turnbull, who's built one of the best sound systems in the world, called the OJAS sound system, which is from New York, and they've got a beautiful installation in London. And last year I pitched to the gallery that we do a few listening sessions where we come together and I sit down and I do a theme and I talk about the history of the music and the people, and I play the music that can chronicle that story for an hour and a half. And it was about, I would say that 40 people could come in. At first they were a bit skeptical of that idea, and that kind of comes down to the thing that I argue for and believe in the most right now, which is long-form culture. And this is something that's especially relevant to us, right, as young people, when we're at a cusp where everything's becoming incredibly technological, which in some ways is so great. But in many ways, we're incredibly responsible for paving the way and anchoring the principles for what matters most for the next generation. And the thing that I love the most about music and arts, whether that's theatre, whether that's cinema, whether that's history, whether that's storytelling, is it's taking it back to the source. It's taking it back to the source of humanity. Sound is the most ancient form of communication that pre-existed any form of technology. And hearing so much about AI today really made me think about the fact that I spoke to a few people. I've had some great chats with some German bankers, actually. I had a great chat with this German. This is great. I went to the state. What was it? The president of Bavaria is a little castle over there, and I went over there to have a little chat. I just went there to, and I met some great people actually. Some of whom are here. It's great coming on your own somewhere. Just get stuck in. Oh, no, there's too many things going through my head. I'll say that in a sec. But when I went there, I got talking to this guy who's about this 55-year-old German banker based in Munich, and he asked me a bit about what I do, and I told him, and he works for a big bank around here. And we got talking about music, and he told me about the fact that he loved the Frankfurt techno scene of the 90s. And he was telling me these great tales. This was literally about 45 minutes ago, about all the things that he used to go to. And he got up these old videos, and he was like, oh my gosh, you've suddenly, the words he used, he's like, you've brought back my mojo. You've brought back where it all came from. He said, it's gotten to a point where I'm talking so much to people about things that are so advanced and so far in the future that I've actually forgotten where it all started for me. And the beauty of the arts and the beauty of spaces like public possession and gatherings like DLD is that we can all come together, and in an age where we're all so attached to the screens and the algorithm, we can break out of that a little bit and reconnect to our sense of humanity and pulse and the sense of who we are, and bring it back to the things that can make us all come together in a physical room. And Instagram's great, the internet's great. It's offered us opportunities to probably all connect in a way that we never could, without it. But there's something so special about days like today, about evenings where you go out and you meet people. There's something about a conference or a gathering like DLD that just makes everyone feel like you're allowed to talk to strangers. You know how you go into a normal room or a bar or a club and it's like, it's a bit of a thing to talk to a stranger. You don't want to seem like a weirdo, but you also want to suss out the vibe. Whereas, here it's like the whole point is to chat to each other, and it feels really good, and it feels really human. So, one of the things that I think we should all take back and think about is spaces, creating spaces in whatever field that we're in, bringing people together to feel an energy. And if you're passionate about something, it doesn't matter if it's something that's artistic, something that's technological, something that's business-based, finance-based, something that you think, maybe this isn't cool, like I'm not going to talk about my passion. The thing about passion is it's the most contagious thing that exists in the world. And when you speak passionately about something to someone, they get that energy, whether it's the energy of exactly what you're talking about or just the energy that's coming across. That's the energy that's going to keep this world going. And at a time of so much division and suffering, and where we go into rooms and we're more concerned about what divides us. What does this person think about this political issue? What does this person think about that? Oh, that, all right, I'm not going to talk to them. The beautiful thing about something like today, the beautiful thing about club culture, the beautiful thing about theatre, about art, about all of these things, about what public possession do, is that you come in and the first thing that you think is, oh, this is exciting me. And you talk to the person next to you, like DLD, and they're like, yeah, I'm inspired by this. I went to a great talk today that this Harvard professor did at DLD, and he spoke about the fact that he talked about AI. It was actually called artificial intelligence, obviously, the name of the talk. But with a really interesting kind of spin he had on it is, I don't want to talk about how AI is going to help us in the future. He actually spoke about how AI can help us learn about history. And he started off talking about ancient Egypt and the weighing of the heart ceremony. And these, we don't know how the Egyptians made the pyramids all those thousands of years ago. We don't know. And there's this obsession with future technology, unlocking something. But actually, when we take it back to the roots, he said this incredible story of how the mathematics was essentially pioneered in India. Because in India, they invented the number 0, which unlocked this possibility to view maths in a way that had never been viewed before. And he spoke about this incredible man called Muhammad bin something al-Khawasi, and how he brought maths from India to Baghdad and over to Spain back in like the 8th century. And apparently, right, this is what happened. This was the maddest moment. I actually roared with excitement, and everyone looked around at me, and I was like, it's exciting, right? And apparently, because he came to Spain and he told them about the number 0 in maths, and they basically thought that his name wasn't Al-Khawasi, it was Al-Gharisi. They misunderstood it, right? But his name is where the word algorithm derived from. Al-Gharisi became algorithmic, which became algorithm, which started in Baghdad, which began in India, from that Islamic period of incredible pioneering culture. And when you learn about something like that, suddenly it paints a culture, it paints a history in a different way, you know? And that's something that I love about music. It can help us understand certain cultures and certain people and the importance of gathering and the importance of togetherness in a way that this advanced world can sometimes make us forget about. And I feel really blessed to be in this room with all of you guys, and I've met so many great people. And Tigran and Tali, I mean, you guys have done such a fantastic job to really shine a light on people in their 20s and younger people and people that are on the younger cusp of stuff, because it's so easy for a gathering and a conference and a group of people to dismiss the younger figures, right? And it's so easy for the younger figures to feel this sense of inferiority complex where you're like, I don't know enough and I can't do it. But it's so important that we come together and we mobilize each other and we listen to each other and we ask each other certain questions and we get passionate and we don't feel ashamed to feel that passion. And at a time where everything is so short form and everything's on the screen in 6 seconds, we bring it back to the craft and we bring it back to the source. And if that means that, you know, you're an artist and you want to be successful, but everyone around you is making these 7-second cringe Instagram reels, and you're like, I've got to do that in order to get 30,000 followers in the next year. I don't think that's the solution, because that's going to burn away. You'll be part of a trend, and that trend will go in a year, and you'll be forgotten about. The thing that has anchored artists to this world, the thing that we never remember the image, we never remember the hype, we never remember the moment, we remember the sincerity of someone's expression, you know, and whether that is Zaha Hadid, one of the greatest sculptors of all time, who made these sculptures in a way that nobody understood, whether that's Samuel Beckett, who wrote Waiting for Godot in 1958 at a time when nobody liked that play that shone a light on the fact that humans cannot deal with uncertainty. Whether that's Liam Gallagher from Oasis, who people didn't like the arrogance of, yet Noel and Liam Gallagher sung with this sense of fearlessness. Whether that's Amy Winehouse, who wound up the entire British media because of her true character, but has left an imprint that will be left forever. The one thing that I take from great artists, great creators, and great thinkers is that to be sincere, even if it's not recognized in the moment, will last forever. So that's the thing that I just want to leave you guys with before I play a few tunes for you all, is whatever you're doing, whatever you're passionate about, take some time, don't rush the craft, because I'll tell you one thing, one final thing. Last year, I interviewed someone who changed my life forever, changed my spirit forever, and I will never be the same person in the best way possible. And I'll tell what ended up happening was I did a pitch for the BBC. So I'm a radio broadcaster, I'm a presenter, a documentary maker, writer, DJ. I'm a man of many crafts, right? But basically, I put this pitch to the BBC. I wanted to go and interview this musician, a man called Marshall Allen. Does anyone know Marshall Allen? Okay, he's the leader of this band called the Sun Ra Orchestra, a spiritual jazz band, one of the oldest jazz bands in the world. They were formed in 1957 in Chicago and moved over to Philadelphia. The band still exists. Marshall Allen joined in 1958. He's the oldest living performing musician in the world. He's 100 years old, plays the alto saxophone, and his most recent gig was 4 days ago at the New York Winter Jazz Festival, the videos of which will bewilder you. I showed some other banker today a video of him playing, and he just couldn't believe it. There's not a single person that I've met in any world who I've talked about Marshall Allen to who's not been fascinated by that from a purely human condition perspective. Anyway, I pitched this thing to the BBC, got to the final round, to go over to Philadelphia to interview the oldest living performing musician and to bring it back as a radio documentary to bring to Britain. And I got to the final round, and then they declined it. And they said no. And it broke me because I put so much effort into it. And I was in my studio with my best friend Nick, and Nick came in. He said, "What's up?" And I told him. And he said, "Listen, we're going to go to Philadelphia together." And I was like, "Well, do you mean it? Because don't say that if you don't mean it, because you're getting me excited now." And he said, "I mean it." And the next day we booked our flights, and we went over to Philadelphia. I had one radio listener who'd messaged me who lived in Philadelphia. I messaged her. I was like, "Could we have a sofa for a week?" Very kindly, she said, "Yeah." And we went on this 1-week quest to Philadelphia to find Marshall Allen and the Sun Ra Orchestra purely for the reason of just wanting to see someone who's 100, who's doing what he loves, who has never stopped, who's so devoted and dedicated to his own spiritual and sense of physical beliefs. And we went over and we found him, and we spent a couple of days with him, and we interviewed him. And this documentary is probably going to come out in a year, because we've got 14 hours worth of footage of different members and the entire story. But the thing that struck me the most was meeting someone who was at that age, who the idea of retiring had never even occurred to him, because what he believed in meant so much to him. The environment that he put himself in nurtured and cultivated him to a point where nothing could stop him. His feeling was limitless. And through playing, bear in mind, he's been playing the saxophone for 82 years, which is more than half of the entire existence of the instrument, the saxophone, right? He was born in 1924, and he was stationed in Paris in World War II. That's where he picked up the clarinet, went over to Chicago. He was in a record shop. He went to the record shop owner and said, "Who's this song that you're playing right now in the shop?" He said, "This is a guy called Sun Ra. He's rehearsing down the road." Marshall Allen was working in a camera shop. He said, "All right, I'm going to go over to this spot." The guy told him the address. He walked in on an impulse like that, went in, said to Sun Ra, "I play the clarinet. Can I play it for you?" Sun Ra said, "I don't want to hear the clarinet. I want to hear the alto saxophone." Marshall Allen went out, spent his savings on an alto saxophone, came back, played for Sun Ra in 1958. 2024, he's still doing it. And it's those moments of impulse, those moments that you respond to, those spontaneous moments that just make you feel something, but you maybe can't explain it, that can sometimes change your life. So that's just something that I wanted to say. And to Marshall Allen, to all of you guys, to DLD, to Tigran, to Tali, to Public Possession, to the whole crew, don't stop what you're doing. Keep it going. Stay together. And when it gets tough, spend a bit of time on your own. Get the notebook out. Write what means the most to you. Sometimes solitude is the biggest anchor. And in an age of screens, when we want distraction, it's the hardest thing to find. But when we do find it, that's the thing that can bring us back up again. And I feel super energized by this all. So yeah, I'm going to play a few tunes for the next hour or so, 40 minutes or so. But yeah, it was really nice to just share that with you. And thank you very much to you all for having me. Appreciate it. And don't be afraid to have a dance, you know. This is about, we're going to get the vibe, man. I brought some records. It's strictly vinyl for this little section. We're going to go everywhere. And we're going to start off with this incredible jazz record. Thank you very much, guys.